there are endless ways, infinite ways that reality and life is showing you how the beginning is the end and how all things collapse into each other and are born out of each other. And nothing I say will fully encapsulate that, but also everything I do say does encapsulate that. It's both. It both is and isn't. That's a really important thing to remember. In reality, everything always is and everything always isn't. Maybe we can use an analogy of being underwater. I like to spend a lot of time underwater, and to me that's I love getting insights from anywhere, but I just love spending time underwater. So to me that's a beautiful place to make some imagery and get some analogies from. So when you're underwater and you let out your breath, all these air bubbles rise to the surface. So we can compare these air bubbles to thoughts, to self-story, to identity, to form, to grasping, etc. When you're underwater, all of those bubbles are rising, and they can represent that, like the story. And then on land, when you breathe out, you're not seeing that happening the same way you see it happening underwater. When you breathe out, you don't, if you're in a room or like in a normal temperated area, you're not going to see anything. You're just going to breathe out. But the air is still there, but there's no medium for it to take shape and to be seen. Where underwater, there is a medium. The water allows the air to become visible. That's why you see those bubbles rising up from the surface. So in the same way that being itself, it doesn't need form. Awareness doesn't need labels or stories. It's just, I don't even like the word awareness, like reality or being, or it doesn't need form. It doesn't need grasping. Awareness, it doesn't need that. But, when story and language and identity are added, something seems to take shape. So we can imagine in this very sloppy, messy metaphor that underwater bubbles are like, we can just use the word awareness, even though it's not exactly the right word. We can use the word awareness is those bubbles represent labels and grasping, and they represent that extra layer that's added, and it's not necessarily bad or good. It's just something that happens. A me appears, and what's important to notice is that those bubbles, they aren't separate from the water. I think roughly they say that air is around approximately 800 times less dense than water. So the air rises up, but it's like it's encapsulated in that kind of like wobbly film of the water, and then it rises up to the surface and it pops, and then boom, once again it's one with the water, and it never was separate. It just took form. The water allowed it to move and be in that unique kind of form and shape, and then it popped. And when it reaches the surface, it doesn't go anywhere. It collapses and becomes one with the rest of the water, with the rest of the field of awareness. So nothing was ever lost and nothing was ever separate. And sometimes I feel like, why am I even saying this? And, it doesn't need to be said, but it doesn't need to be said because it's impossible to say. Like, what I'm saying right now is nothing. What I'm saying right now is not what I mean, and it's never what I mean. In the same way that it is what I mean, and it's always what I mean. And that's really frustrating, and it's amazing that you actually can't teach awakening, quote unquote awakening. You can't teach that. You can point to it. It's like the saying that, the finger pointing to the moon is not the moon. I really love that saying because the quote unquote teaching, whatever, it's not the insight. And either way, that teaching is also somehow never a teaching. Like, you are the person who has to teach yourself. What I'm saying is only going to just become an insight that's generated within you. And then you're going to have that awakening or that realization or that breakthrough for yourself. So there both is a teacher and there isn't a teacher. And everything is your teacher and everything isn't your teacher. And it's completely ridiculous and amazing because we're like speaking here about something that can never be spoken about. And yet, with all the languages we have on earth and all the variety, all the people, all the art forms, nothing can ever capture awakening. And that's why, to me, I feel like I just love the endless infinity and unfolding process of awakening. You know, some people have their own special interests. Some people really love shadow work and growing up and cleaning up. I'm like, love awakening. And I love that it's just like all those things, it's never ending, but I'm just such a huge fan of awakening and embodying deeper and deeper layers and levels of awakening, because I don't know, why does it feel important to me? It feels very important to me. I know it feels very important to you and to many people, or else you probably wouldn't be here right now. Without awakening, that and it's not a one-time shop. It's not a one-stop shop. It's something that keeps going on forever. And without awakening, that constant awakening, you're not, I don't know, if you block awakening from touching you and reaching you, I feel as though you block connection and intimacy with reality, because reality is always telling you, hey, look, the beginning is the end. Hey, look, everything is the same thing, but everything is different. Everything is birthing and dying. Everything is the start and the finish. Everything is something and everything is nothing. Like, wherever you look, that message is being described, and that can be really helpful. Like, I can't even tell you why that's helpful. I'm sure you feel why that's helpful. And I'm sure if you're at this point watching this, that you yourself are awakening as I am, you know, awakening, whatever you want to call it. We'll say awakening because everything in reality is verbs. Everything is ing. Everything is happenings and nothing has happened. But then at the same time, it's both. That's why you can say I'm awake, but I'm also awakening. Yeah. And that's why you can say I'm alive, but I'm also living. Isn't that true? You're alive, but you're also living. They don't contradict each other necessarily. They're both true. So, here on earth with all this variety, all these people walking around, dancing around, scopping around the town, they're just, living their life. And whether they're finding different and deeper levels of living life, it ultimately doesn't matter, because everything is exactly perfect as it needs to be, and everything is operating in a very harmonious way. There's a lot of good, there's a lot of love, there's a lot of beauty happening on the earth. There was a lot of terrible, awful, hatred, horrid things occurring as well. Terrible, terrible, demonic things occurring. There's both. There's good and bad. And the bad that's happening, those people think it's good. And the good that's happening, those people think it's also good. Like, reality is like an infinite nesting doll. Like, those Russian nesting dolls, one thing inside of another. Reality is an infinite nesting doll. When you realize reality is an infinite nesting doll, it can be very relaxing. It can be relaxing. It can also be expanding. There are so many benefits to awakening. You get closer to reality. You trust reality more. Like, you just trust that, You feel like you can take refuge in reality. You yourself are a metaphor for awakening. For all things, for yourself, for no thing, something, partial thing. Awakening is really going to be helpful for death and dying. Just as helpful it is for suffering, just as helpful it is for joy, elation. It's beautiful. Profound awakenings are profound dyings. The more awakenings, the deeper level of awakenings, the smoother transition you have to dying as well. Because dying is the one thing that's guaranteed. I can't believe I'm alive, actually. But I never know when the last moment's going to be. It could be in 5 minutes from now. Your last moment could be in 5 minutes from now. It could be in an hour, could be in 3 days, could be in a week, could be in 2 months, could be in 10 years. Awakening is going to help shed layers of self-story. It's going to help you pop those underwater bubbles that we spoke of earlier. Awakening is going to let out bubbles that are going to pop. Pop and pop and pop and pop. I don't know anything. And at the same time, when I stop, drop, and roll, I know everything. Because reality can be immediately known when you shut the fuck up. And when you shut the fuck up, you realize reality can never be known. And both of those insights do not happen sequentially. One's not before the other is not before one. They happen at the same damn time. And I don't know what would happen to me if I didn't realize that. Luckily, that insight shot me off my seat and across the universe at a very young age. But without that, I would have been suffering so deeply. And I guess that's why I want to make these videos, write these books, share this, because awakening is really a great way to penetrate through and out the other side of suffering. Because reality and life, it actually low-key is suffering. And awakening is realizing that suffering is, well, how can I say that suffering is beautiful? And suffering is a subtle grasping and contraction away from boundlessness and away from awakening. But I don't want to say it's bad because it's gorgeous, it's immaculate, and it's so beyond creative that God, that you as God and the infinite a creative reality creates suffering and contraction so that awakening is like kind of a surprise and a joyful, amazing thing to discover. And I just wish everyone can just taste that and just sit in that and just cry and be completely awestruck, because there is nothing more profound and awe-striking than awakening and realizing that everything is one and that everything is two. And then that's the same thing. And that is a different thing. And that there is no way you can explain it. I love that. I live for the fact that you cannot explain awakening. If I sat here for the rest of my life, I could never explain exactly what awakening is. It's just unexplainable. You just have to do it. It's like that clothing brand, the Nike, just do it. Oh my God, one of my friends says that. Oh my God. I just thought of that. Yeah, and he's right. There's no way I can tell you about awakening. There's no way anyone could tell you about awakening. The teaching is not the teaching. Anyways, before I sit here, speak in circles, which I guess I've already been doing, because I love the symbol of the circle, like the Ouroboros, the snake eating its tail. Right now, if you can, bring your thumb and your index finger together, your pointer finger and your thumb, bring it together. That feeling, I'm doing it right now, that feeling, that circle, the beginning is the end. They're equal. Look at your two fingers right now. Look at your thumb and look at your index finger. Is your thumb the beginning or is it the end? Is your index finger the beginning or is it the end? They're equal. They came together. Just do it. Do that action. That movement itself is liberating. That movement itself, that circle. There is no beginning and there is no end. You don't have to search for a beginning. You don't have to search for an end. Being. We live in a crazy, amazing, beautiful reality. And I hope that you get to experience lots of awe and wonder and magic in this beautiful world. I hope you get to love. I hope you get to suffer. I hope you get to laugh and cry. There is nothing more beautiful than living in this infinite world, in this endless universe. And I don't know much about past lives or alternate lives or reoccurring lives, but this whole thing feels cyclical. This whole thing feels like a big circle of love and knowledge and truth. And I hope you are doing everything you can to live your life very fully, very richly. I hope you find love, and I hope you find peace, and I hope you find freedom. Thank you.